Hello, me lovely as well. I just thought to do this quick video because it's absolutely the sun is belting down out there, and I didn't go into my garden being a beautiful peaches and cream complexion, English rose. I don't want to wilt in all this severe heat. So got time to make a video until it starts cooling down, then I can get out into my garden and start doing some work there, which it needs. So I heard all this business over Danny Christie. I called out and choosed Jimmy Justice Millar. And I thought I'll look into it to see what had happened. And it's very, very interesting what's said. But what I'll do is I'll play the part from Danny Christie's live where Jimmy Justice says something that he really does need pulling up on.
The female was an adult woman who met him on a Tinder date, who went back to his parents' place and went in bedroom with him. Yeah, it's not like he drugged her and put her on his shoulders and run up the stairs with her.
Jimmy,
back these things can happen.
Up.
Now, what Jimmy has done there is classic victim blaming. And for a man to say that about a woman who was violated and a court agreed she'd been violated, and the offender, Shadowboxer, actually offered an apology up to the court and the victim through his barrister, which was damn well admitting guilt, as a court and jury would see that, admitting guilt, is absolutely disgusting for Jimmy Justice to say that. He's pushing the ownership and the blame on to the woman. But you heard what he said, she shouldn't have done this, she shouldn't have done that, she went there. So basically what he's saying is, if a woman goes back to a man's house and she's violated, she has to take responsibility for that. That's what women have been fighting against for a long, long time. That's 1970s and before that thinking. It's disgraceful to say that. But I've always said Danny Christie does have a really good brain in his head, and he challenged him absolutely perfectly on that. And was right to challenge him. Now, why is Jimmy Justice doing this? Well, I often thought about why, because I saw it starting off, it was all like him and Shadowboxer were doing this to and fro. This is how it all starts off, you'll notice this. There's someone trying this trick at the moment. Going to get Shadow, going to do this to him, going to do that because he's a bacon and all this business. And then suddenly the chassis and best mateys. Now, it's not just Jimmy Justice that's done that. Others do it. They'll go on the lives, and at first they're all like confronting Shadowboxer. And then it's all chassis, we can get something out of this, because they're getting the views. They're getting the big views and the clicks. And that's what lies behind it. That's how it plays out. And I have to say, the person who put it perfectly, the reason behind Jimmy Justice doing this, was Paul Venice. Now, I don't always agree with Paul Venice. He can really trigger me at times, things he says. But he says this to Danny Christie, and he's spot on. He couldn't put it better.
But I think he's too busy selling his soul to gain views and likes around the Shadow now.
And I agree with that 100%, because I thought that. Actually, it was Jimmy Justice who opened the doorway for fighters and other people to be able to do that and welcome Shadowboxer into the fold. And I said this at the beginning. He's getting views, Shadowboxer, because he's so controversial. And that will draw people to him. But what it was, people were still questioning him and debating whether people should talk to him. But when Jimmy Justice did that, it's also said to others who wanted to jump on the wave of popularity and views and clicks, go on, you can do it now. And watch them, people. They always start out with, I'm calling you out, Shadow, because you're a bacon. I'm going to do you. always starts off like that. They don't get the fight, and then they're all buddies. Because as Paul Venice said, they're willing to sell the soul for that. The danger in that is if you want to rise through the ranks of the profession you're in. Their fights, of course, I don't understand the fighting structure, but there must be a structure there how you climb up the ladder to success. It can be blocked. Because one thing that being a fighter has is this macho image. Big, strong men. And what they want to avoid, or any competition or organisation that is promoting these fighters, what they want to avoid is that machoism coming across as misogynistic. And blaming a female victim, holding her responsible, or partly responsible, for being violated, well, you can't get more misogynistic than that. And it's denying her the right that a judge and jury found that had happened. Actually, Danny Christie points that out, said a judge and jury actually found that her view was right. It's just stealing it away from her. And I say, it's not just Jimmy that does that. Other people have downplayed it so that they can get on with them and have them on their lives and all this and go on his lives because it's getting the views. But it can have repercussions later on. And as I say, I've said from day one, if someone wants to talk to Shadow Boxer, that's up to them. You can't say, no, you're not going to talk to him. That's up to them. But what you don't do is start justifying, and it is justifying or negating what he did and was found guilty of doing by blaming the victim to justify that. Just say, look, just turn around and say, I don't care what he did in the past. He did it in the past. I'm still going to talk to him, be his friend. Be honest about it. Don't try to do what Jimmy Justice did, and which is a horrible thing to do, to blame the victim. But anyway, good on Danny Christie for calling him out on that, and good on Paul Venice for putting in one sentence exactly what's going on here with Jimmy Justice and others that are doing things like that. And it's important that people do challenge statements like Jimmy Justice came out with, or when Paddy Conroy is playing it down saying it wasn't that serious. It's important that people like Danny Christie and Paul Venice do challenge that, because what's distasteful, these people who are playing it down are all men. Now, that is not a good look. That's men that are condemning the female victim. So you need other men to counteract that and say, no, you're out of order, exactly like Danny Christie did. So I'm glad he actually did that. But always remember, this side of YouTube is tiny. It's tiny. So that getting a few clicks on this side of YouTube isn't worth it if that when you step out of the fishbowl and you go into the wider world where they will condemn and they will judge you by your words, and they'll judge you very, very harshly over that, and could be a profession stopper by doing that. Always remember that. Look outward, not inward, when you're swimming around with the other little fishies in the bowl, because there's a whole world out there looking on. So I'll leave it at that, my lovelies.